Roman Calderone had learned, over the course of 3 years, that Vivienne Russo could make almost any problem disappear if he put it on her desk before 9 in the morning. Double-booked meetings, insulted politicians, missing invoices, furious contractors, a cousin who had somehow scheduled 2 christenings on the same Sunday. Vivienne handled them all with the same expression, calm, unimpressed, and just judgmental enough to remind Roman that most emergencies were created by men who refused to read calendars. At 36, Roman was the head of the Calderone family and had spent most of his adult life surrounded by people who either feared him or wanted something from him. Vivienne did neither. She wanted accurate information. 20 minutes of warning before he changed his schedule. And for him to stop telling people we'll make it work, when what he actually meant was Vivienne will fix it. He considered those demands excessive. She considered him alive only because she was merciful. That Monday afternoon, Vivienne stood in front of his desk, holding a black folder against her soft waist and reading out the guest list for the St. Aurelia Foundation Gala, an annual charity event that was technically about hospitals and children and practically about every powerful family in the city, evaluating everyone else's alliances beneath chandeliers. Vivienne wore a navy skirt suit, low heels, and rectangular glasses that Roman had never seen her without at work. Her dark curls were twisted into a severe knot at the nape of her neck. She was plus size, full-hipped and soft through the waist, and had mastered the art of dressing so professionally that most men remembered the folder in her hand before they remembered the woman carrying it. Roman had always assumed that was intentional. He had never asked, "Your table is confirmed." She said, "Matteo Rinaldi, Sofia Rinaldi, Senator Kessler, 2 donors from Harcourt Medical, and your guest." Roman looked up from the report he had been pretending to read. "My guest, cancelled." Vivienne glanced down. Camille Laurent Paris. Tonight, apparently, fashion emergencies cross borders. Vivienne made one small note. Then, "I'll remove her from the security list." Roman leaned back. "You don't sound devastated. I met her once, and she called me Virginia." Roman's mouth twitched. "That is serious. I considered war. You should have told me. You would have enjoyed it too much." Matteo Rinaldi entered without knocking, which meant he had either forgotten manners or decided rank exempted him from them. As Roman's underboss and oldest friend, he had earned slightly more tolerance than most people. "Problem." Vivienne did not look up. "You'll need to be more specific in this building." Matteo ignored her and looked at Roman. Vescari moved 2 extra men onto the guest list. Roman frowned. Names Vivienne already had the tablet open. Dario Vescari and Sebastian Moretti were added this morning through the donor office. Matteo looked at her. "How did you know that Vivienne pushed her glasses up?" "Because unlike the rest of you, I read updates before declaring emergencies." Roman hid a smile. Matteo pointed at her. "One day, Russo, please schedule threats through my assistant." "You are the assistant." "Exactly. Efficient." The gala had been a minor irritation until Roman's date cancelled. The Calderone family's appearance mattered because the Vescari family had spent 6 months testing social boundaries while pretending not to test anything at all. Roman arriving alone would not damage his position, but it would generate conversation. In their world, conversation became interpretation, and interpretation became strategy. Matteo dropped into a chair. "You need someone on your arm." Roman's gaze returned to the financial report. "I need everyone in that room to stop believing charity requires white tie. I'm serious. So, Matteo glanced at Vivienne. "What about Bianca Ferraro?" Vivienne said. Engaged. Elena Rossi. In Dubai. Julia Roman refused to speak to her after she leaked a photograph from Lake Como. Matteo Sihil. You've made dating administratively impossible. Roman looked at Vivienne. That sounds like criticism. It was data. Matteo began listing names. Vivienne rejected each for reasons ranging from travel schedules to public scandals to one woman's unfortunate habit of posting locations in real time. Roman listened for 2 minutes before boredom won. Vivienne stood beside his desk. Expression neutrale. While Matteo said, "At this rate, you'll have to bring Russo." Roman looked at her automatically. She looked up from the tablet. There was a pause. Matteo grinned. Actually, that might be funny. Roman should have ended it there. Instead, tired and amused, and far too comfortable with the woman who had spent years making his life easier, he let the joke form before thinking about what it meant. "Fine," he said. "Vivienne can come. Imagine their faces when I arrive with my secretary." Matteo laughed. Roman smiled. Vivienne did too. That was the part he would remember later. She smiled perfectly. Not broadly, not warmly, just enough to show she understood the joke and was civilized enough not to make the room uncomfortable because of it. Roman missed the way her fingers tightened around the folder. Matteo continued, still amused. "Half the room will think you lost a bet," Roman said. "The other half will wonder what she has on me." Vivienne closed the tablet. Mostly calendar evidence. Dangerous stuff. Career-ending. Roman looked at her. "What do you think?" Russo. Want to terrify organized society. Vivienne met his eyes. For 1 second, something changed behind hers. Roman had spent 3 years reading her moods from tiny signals, the clipped tone when he moved meetings, the sharp tap of a pen when Matteo ignored deadlines, the particular silence that meant someone had made a mistake too stupid to deserve immediate comment. This expression he did not recognize. "All right," she said. Matteo blinked. "Really?" Vivienne looked at him. "Why not?" Roman raised an eyebrow. "You'd come as your +1. Yes, to the gala. That is generally what we're discussing." Vivienne's smile returned, but this time there was steel in it. "Fine. Boss, I'll be your date." Matteo looked delighted. Roman felt, inexplicably, as though he had stepped onto a floor he had not checked for traps. Vivienne opened the folder again. "I'll update security." Roman watched her. "You already have something to wear." The question escaped before he considered how it sounded. Vivienne's eyes lifted slowly. Matteo became very interested in the wall. "Yes, Roman," she said. She almost never used his first name in the office. "I own clothes." He realized the mistake. "That isn't what I meant." "Of course not." "Vivienne, the donor call is in 12 minutes. Matteo, your briefing folder is on your desk. Roman, if you move the Kessler meeting again, I will tell the senator you're frightened of him." Then she left. The door closed. Matteo waited exactly 2 seconds. "You're an idiot." Roman looked at him. "You laughed. I'm also an idiot. Mine isn't new information." Roman picked up the report. She agreed. "That does not mean you didn't insult her." "I didn't insult her." Matteo leaned forward. "You invited a woman to a room full of rich criminals because you thought her presence would be funny." Roman's expression hardened. "That isn't what I meant." "Excellent. Tell her what you meant." Roman looked toward the closed door. He had no answer that improved with repetition. Vivienne returned to her office and shut the door carefully. She did not slam it. Slamming doors was emotional, noticeable, and usually expensive. Instead, she placed the black folder on her desk, removed her glasses, and pressed both fingers to the bridge of her nose. She had spent 3 years believing Roman respected her, not desired her. She had never required that. Respect mattered more. He trusted her with schedules that could expose him, negotiations that could cost millions, names most people were not permitted to know. He listened when she told him a meeting was a mistake. He had once cancelled an entire afternoon because she said his mother sounded tired on the phone and needed him more than a finance committee did. Vivienne had thought all of that meant he saw her clearly. Apparently, he saw a secretary. Worse, a secretary whose appearance made her useful as a punchline. She had known men like that before. Men who praised her competence and then expressed surprise if she wore anything fitted. Women who said she had such confidence when what they meant was that they personally would have hidden a body like hers. Dates who told her they preferred curves, as if bestowing a private award. Vivienne had built a professional version of herself, partly because professionalism was armor. Navy, black, charcoal, clean lines, minimal jewelry, hair contained, glasses on. Nobody at Calderone headquarters needed access to the rest of her. Roman had never mocked her body. That almost made it worse, because she had trusted him not to. Her phone rang. Her cousin, Alessia's name, appeared. Vivienne answered. "Hi." Alessia immediately said, "You sound like you want to murder someone." Occupational hazard. Roman Vivienne closed her eyes. Why does everyone assume Roman? Because you only use that tone for him and parking enforcement. Vivienne leaned back. He invited me to the state. Aurelia Gala. Silence. Then what is his date? Another silence. Longer this time. Vivienne. Yes. You already have an invitation. I know. Through Aunt Lucia's foundation table. I know. And Roman doesn't know that. Vivienne looked through the glass wall toward his office. Roman knows almost nothing about my life that isn't stored in Outlook. That was not entirely fair. Roman knew she had 2 younger brothers. He knew she hated lilies because the pollen gave her headaches. He knew she drank iced coffee even in winter, and that she called her grandmother every Wednesday. But he did not know that before Vivienne Russo became his executive secretary, she had spent years attending the same fundraisers, weddings, charity dinners, and family events. He considered his natural social environment. The Russos were not a ruling mafia family. They were old money adjacent, connected through shipping, real estate, philanthropy, and enough marriages to make every Italian-American family tree in the city look like conspiracy evidence. Vivienne had grown up knowing how to dance with men whose fathers were under investigation and how to smile through a dinner where everyone was quietly deciding who would betray whom. She had left that world because she was tired of being introduced as someone's daughter, niece, cousin, or potential wife. Roman had hired her because she was the most qualified applicant. That had mattered. Until today. Alessia said, "Are you going?" Yes. Why? Vivienne looked at the closed office door across the hall. Because he thinks the joke is bringing his secretary. And Vivienne smiled. Genuinely this time. I want to see how funny he finds it. By 6 that evening, Roman had attempted to apologize twice and failed both times because Vivienne was never alone long enough for him to do it without witnesses. The first attempt died when Senator Kessler called, the second when his mother arrived unannounced, and Vivienne immediately abandoned him to carry the woman's shopping bags upstairs. At 7:30 he found Vivienne packing her laptop. "Tomorrow," he said. She looked up. Yes, the gala. Still on the calendar. I know. Good. Vivienne. She waited. Roman closed the office door behind him. About what I said earlier. Her face became professionally blank. He disliked the expression immediately. You don't have to come. Vivienne's eyebrows lifted. Roman heard how bad that sounded. That was not the apology. Relieved to hear it, he exhaled. I made a joke at your expense. Yes, I shouldn't have. No. Roman paused. Vivienne waited. I wasn't joking about you. You were joking about arriving with me. Yes. Because I'm your secretary. Yes. And that would be funny. Roman rubbed one hand over his jaw. When you repeat it, it sounds worse. That is one feature of accurate language. He almost smiled and stopped himself. I'm sorry. Vivienne looked at him. There was no dramatic forgiveness, no softening music in the air. She simply nodded. Thank you. Roman felt oddly dissatisfied. That's it. What do you want me to say? I don't know. Then perhaps don't assign me that job too. The line hit cleanly. Roman nodded. Fair. Vivienne closed her laptop bag. I'm still coming. You don't have to prove anything. Her eyes met his. I know. That was worse. She walked past him. Roman watched her leave and realized, perhaps for the first time, that Vivienne had a life that did not exist for his convenience. The gala began the following evening at 8. Roman arrived at 7:50 because Vivienne had trained him to respect schedules through a combination of persistence and threats. He stood in the marble foyer of the Calderone residence wearing a black tuxedo while Matteo adjusted his cufflinks nearby. Nervous, Matteo asked. Roman gave him a look. About a charity gala. About Russo. No, you've checked the stairs 6 times. I'm waiting. That is what nervous people say when they have expensive shoes. Roman ignored him. At 7:56. Heels clicked on the staircase above. Matteo looked up first. Then Roman did. For one strange second. His mind refused to connect. The woman descending the stairs with the person who had sat outside his office for 3 years. Vivienne wore deep emerald silk. Not black, not navy, not anything designed to disappear. The gown followed her body instead of apologizing for it. It crossed softly over her full bust, drew in at the waist, and fell over her generous hips in a long, clean line that moved with every step. Her curls were down, dark and glossy over one shoulder. No glasses, gold earrings, bare throat except for one delicate chain. Nothing about the dress tried to make her smaller. That was the first thing Roman understood. The second was that she was beautiful. Not suddenly, not because of the dress. The realization felt worse than that. She had apparently been beautiful for years while he had been looking at calendars. Matteo whispered, "Oh, you're in trouble." Roman did not answer. Vivienne reached the bottom step. She looked at Matteo. "You clean up well." Matteo put one hand over his heart. "I'm honored." Then she looked at Roman. "Boss." Roman opened his mouth. Nothing useful arrived. Vivienne waited. Matteo looked between them. "This is exceptional," Roman finally said. "You look." Vivienne raised an eyebrow. He finished with the only word his brain produced. "Different." Matteo closed his eyes. Vivienne smiled. "Thank you, Roman. You look exactly the same." Then she walked toward the door. Matteo leaned closer as Roman followed. "I need you to understand. I will remember this night forever. Say another word, and you'll spend it in the trunk. Worth it." The Stint. Aurelia Ballroom was already full when they arrived. Chandeliers burned above white linen and crystal. A quartet played near the central staircase. Families who had spent generations fighting over territory stood beneath banners about pediatric medicine and spoke to one another with perfect manners. Roman offered Vivienne his arm before they entered. She looked at it, then at him. Professional requirement, no. Social camouflage, possibly. Vivienne slipped her hand through his arm. The contact should have felt ordinary. It did not. They crossed the threshold. The nearest conversations faltered first. A man from the Bellaforte crew looked over. Then another. Sebastian Moretti, standing beside the bar, stopped mid-sentence. A donor Roman knew from Harcourt Medical turned fully around. The reaction spread subtly, not as theatrical silence but as a tension moving through the room in waves. Men looked. Women did too. Some recognized Vivienne. Others clearly wanted to. Roman felt every glance. Vivienne seemed not to. She walked beside him with the calm ease of a woman who knew exactly how to move through a room like this. That unsettled him almost as much as the dress. "Vivienne," he murmured. "Yes, have you been here before?" She looked at him. "To this ballroom?" "Yes." "Many times." Roman stopped walking. She continued one step before his arm made her stop too. How many, Vivienne considered. Enough that the bartender used to make me Shirley Temples when I was 12. Roman stared at her. Before he could ask another question, Sebastian Moretti approached with a smile of genuine recognition. "Vivienne Russo." Vivienne smiled back. "Sebastian." He kissed her cheek. Roman's expression changed. Sebastian noticed. His smile widened. "Calderone, Moretti." Sebastian looked at Vivienne again. "It's been years." 4. "You disappeared." "I got a job." Sebastian laughed. Roman said, "She works for me." Sebastian turned slowly toward him. There was a beat. Then he said, "You're telling me Vivienne Russo has been in your office for 3 years, and you introduce her as your secretary." Roman's jaw tightened. Vivienne took a champagne glass from a passing tray. "She is my secretary." Sebastian looked at him as if Roman had just confessed he could not read. "That explains nothing." A man approached from the left. Young, handsome, Bellaforte family. Enzo Bellaforte. He looked at Vivienne, then at Roman, then back at Vivienne. "Please tell me Calderone hasn't already claimed every dance." Roman answered before Vivienne could. "She's here with me." Vivienne turned her head. Roman heard it. Too quick, too possessive. Enzo smiled. "I asked the lady." Vivienne looked at him. Roman expected her to decline. He did not know why. Perhaps because she was his guest. Perhaps because she had spent 3 years beside him. Perhaps because something primitive and inconvenient had already begun happening in his chest. Vivienne set down her champagne. "I'd love to." Roman looked at her. She placed her hand in Enzo's. Then she looked back at Roman with a perfectly pleasant smile. "Try not to move any meetings while I'm gone." Enzo led her toward the dance floor. Roman stood beside Sebastian Moretti and watched his secretary disappear into a crowd of men who had apparently noticed in 30 seconds what he had failed to notice in 3 years. Sebastian took a drink. "Calderone." Roman did not look at him. "What? You look angry." "I'm not." Jealous Roman finally turned. Sebastian smiled. "Careful." Roman's gaze returned to the dance floor. Vivienne was laughing at something Enzo said. She looked completely at ease. The emerald silk moved when she turned. Every man nearby seemed aware of her. Roman's jaw tightened. The joke had been supposed to be arriving at a Mafia Gala with his plus-size secretary. Standing beneath the chandeliers while half the room watched Vivienne Russo. Roman finally understood the only funny part. He had thought she was the one people wouldn't see. Roman Calderone discovered within the first 30 seconds of Vivienne's dance with Enzo Bellaforte that jealousy was an extraordinarily inefficient emotion. It offered no useful intelligence, solved no security problem, and made a 3-minute song feel like a hostage negotiation. He stood beside Sebastian Moretti with a champagne glass he had no intention of drinking and watched Enzo place one hand at Vivienne's waist. There was nothing improper about the gesture. Roman knew that. The dance floor was public. Enzo's hand remained exactly where etiquette permitted, and Vivienne had accepted the invitation herself. None of those facts improved Roman's mood. Sebastian glanced at him. If you stare any harder, Bellaforte may catch fire. Roman did not look away. I'm assessing him. For what intent? Sebastian laughed into his drink. His intent is dancing with a beautiful woman. Roman's jaw tightened. You always narrate obvious things only when the obvious thing is happening to a man who deserves it. Vivienne, meanwhile, was having a perfectly pleasant time. Enzo Bellaforte was charming in the uncomplicated way of a man who had spent most of his life knowing people, enjoyed looking at him. He did not pretend not to recognize her body, but neither did he behave as if attraction to a plus-size woman required an announcement. I haven't seen you at one of these in years, he said, as they turned beneath the chandeliers. Vivienne smiled. That was intentional. You disappeared into Calderone headquarters. I accepted a job. Same thing. Depending on the floor. She laughed. Enzo's eyes warmed. There. That. What? I've been trying to remember whether you used to laugh at these things. Rarely. So Calderone improved your sense of humor. Vivienne glanced toward Roman. He stood near the edge of the floor, broad-shouldered in black, watching her with an expression that suggested Enzo had personally interfered with interstate commerce. Not exactly. Enzo followed her gaze and smiled. Interesting. Vivienne returned her attention to him. Don't. I said nothing. Your face did. You really have been working for him too long. When the song ended, Enzo did not immediately release her hand. Another Vivienne considered it. She could feel Roman watching, and a petty part of her, the same part that had accepted his invitation, after hearing herself turned into a joke, wanted to say yes. But she had not come to the gala to manufacture jealousy. Roman's sudden attention did not erase what had happened in his office, and she refused to turn herself into a performance simply because he had finally noticed the audience. Later, she said. Enzo bowed slightly over her hand. I'll hold you to it. Before she could step away, a silver-haired woman approached and caught both of Vivienne's hands. Vivienne Russo. You wicked girl. Your grandmother told me you'd abandoned society for honest employment. Vivienne laughed. Mrs. Carbone. Don't, Mrs. Carbone me. Come here. She kissed both Vivienne's cheeks and immediately began demanding information about her family. Roman watched the exchange from 10 feet away. Then another person greeted Vivienne, then another. Within 5 minutes, the secretary he had expected to introduce all evening had introduced him twice. A hospital trustee knew her aunt. A retired judge remembered her father. The wife of a shipping magnate asked whether Vivienne's grandmother still hosted Christmas Eve. Roman found himself following conversations in which he was, for once, the person missing context. Matteo appeared at his elbow carrying 2 drinks. This is spectacular. Roman accepted neither. What is watching you discover your employee has existed outside business hours? Roman gave him a flat look. Matteo nodded toward Vivienne, who was laughing with Mrs. Carbone. Did you genuinely never ask where she grew up? Of course I did. Where? Roman opened his mouth. Matteo waited. North side. That is a direction. I know where she went to university, because it was on her resume. Roman looked at him. Matteo smiled. Please continue. I haven't enjoyed a gala this much in years. Vivienne returned several minutes later, with Sebastian beside her and a fresh glass of champagne. Roman looked at Sebastian first. Why are you still here? Sebastian appeared, delighted. Because Vivienne invited me to your table. Roman turned to her. Vivienne sipped her drink. He knows, Senator Kessler. It will save you from carrying the conversation about zoning reform. I can carry a conversation. You can threaten a conversation into submission. Sebastian coughed to hide a laugh. Roman ignored him. You seem to know everyone. Vivienne tilted her head. Not everyone. Enough. Is that a problem? No. The answer came too quickly. Her eyebrows rose. Roman adjusted. I'm surprised. I noticed. You never mentioned any of this. You never asked. There was no accusation in her voice. That made the words worse. Dinner did not improve Roman's education. Vivienne knew which fork to ignore when the caterer added unnecessary silverware, which donor could be trusted with a joke, which elderly matriarch expected to be greeted before her sons, and exactly how to redirect Senator Kessler when he attempted to turn pediatric funding into a speech about his re-election. She did it without appearing to manage anyone. Roman had seen her control a boardroom full of hostile executives, but this was different. Here she was not his secretary smoothing a path for him. She belonged to the room independently. At one point Kessler leaned across the table and said, Miss Russo, your father still refusing to sell that property on grant. Vivienne smiled. Senator, my father has been refusing you for 12 years. I admire your optimism. The table laughed. Roman looked at her. Your family owns the grant property, some of it. That parcel is worth. Vivienne turned her head slowly. Please don't appraise my relatives during dinner. Matteo nearly inhaled his wine. Across the ballroom, Dario Vescari noticed her too. Roman saw it because he noticed everything Dario did. The Vescari heir stood with two men near the charity auction display, listening while an older donor spoke. His attention shifted toward the Calderone table and remained there 1 second too long. Roman's instincts sharpened. Dario was not looking at him. He was looking at Vivienne. That gaze was different from Enzo's. Less appreciative. More calculating. Roman stored the observation without reacting. Vivienne caught the change in his face anyway. What she murmured. Nothing. Your nothing has a body count. Roman's eyes remained on Dario. Vescari. Vivienne followed his line of sight without turning her head fully. He's been watching this table since the second course. Roman looked at her. You noticed I have eyes. He was looking at you. So were half the men who walked past us. Roman disliked the sentence. Vivienne noticed that too. Is that bothering you? No. She smiled into her wine. Your face disagrees. After dinner, the orchestra resumed, and the gala loosened into the part of the evening where donations had been announced. Photographs had been taken, and powerful people could pretend they were merely socializing. Roman was intercepted by 2 businessmen before he could stop Vivienne from leaving the table with Sofia Rinaldi. He spent 7 minutes discussing port contracts while tracking emerald silk through the crowd. He told himself it was security. Vivienne was his guest. The Vescari family was present. The ballroom had multiple entrances, all reasonable. Then a man Roman vaguely recognized from a banking family approached Vivienne and made her laugh. Roman lost the thread of the port conversation entirely. Calderone, one businessman asked. Roman looked back. What Matteo? standing nearby, rubbed a hand over his mouth. He asked whether the revised terms work. Roman answered without hesitation, "Send them Monday." The men left. Matteo waited until they were out of earshot. "Security," Roman said. "Yes, naturally. Vescari is watching her. So are you. Different reason. Obviously." Vivienne had expected attention. She had not expected how quickly it would become exhausting. There was a particular kind of surprise she recognized in some faces. People who had seen her in office clothes at Calderone headquarters and were now recalculating her as though silk had changed the mathematics of her body. She disliked that almost as much as being ignored. At the bar, Sofia Rinaldi handed her sparkling water and said, "You're doing the thing." Vivienne looked over. "What thing?" Smiling while mentally sentencing people. "I don't know what you mean." Sofia, married to Matteo for 11 years and therefore immune to dangerous men, leaned closer. "3 different women have asked me whether you lost weight." Vivienne's expression flattened. "I haven't. I know. This dress simply has the radical property of fitting me." Sofia lifted her glass. "To tailoring." Vivienne touched hers against it. "To people eventually learning that fabric is allowed to acknowledge hips." Roman approached in time to hear the last sentence. "Who said something about your weight?" Vivienne turned. His expression had gone cold enough to make Sofia's eyebrows rise. "Nobody important." "Name. Absolutely not." "Vivienne." "Roman." Sofia looked between them. "I'm going to find my husband before this becomes foreplay or murder." Vivienne nearly dropped her glass. Roman stared after Sofia. "What is wrong with everyone tonight?" "Apparently the champagne." "Who said it?" Vivienne sighed. "Nobody insulted me. People are surprised because they're used to seeing me dressed for work. They shouldn't be surprised." She looked at him. Roman realized he had walked directly into dangerous territory. Vivienne waited. "Because?" she asked. Roman's eyes moved over her face, then stopped himself before the movement traveled farther. "Because a dress does not create a person." Her expression changed slightly. "That was almost good. Almost. You still look personally offended by tailoring." Enzo returned before Roman could answer. "Vivienne, you promised me another dance." Roman's mood dropped instantly. Vivienne saw it. Enzo saw it too and was shameless enough to enjoy himself. "Did she?" Roman asked. "She did," I said later. "It is latter." Enzo offered his hand. Vivienne looked at Roman. She could have gone. Part of her wanted to. Because Roman's jealousy was satisfying. In the shallow way, desserts were satisfying, pleasant, temporary, and not nutrition. But something else held her. He had apologized. Badly. Perhaps. But sincerely. And just now, when he could have said, "The dress made her beautiful," he had instead stumbled toward the truth that she had been a person before anyone looked. That mattered more than she wanted it to. "I owe my date one," Vivienne said. Roman went still. Enzo's smile sharpened. "Do you?" Vivienne looked at Roman, assuming he knows how. Roman held out his hand. "I know how. Confidence. Dangerous. You agreed to come with me." As a joke. The words were quiet enough that only the 3 of them heard. Roman's hand lowered slightly. Enzo's amusement vanished. Vivienne regretted saying it in front of him, but she would not take it back. Roman looked at her for a long second. "Dance with me, anyway." It was not an order. Vivienne placed her hand in his. Roman led her onto the floor. He had danced with dozens of women at events like this. He knew where to place his hand, how to move without watching his feet, how to carry on a conversation while calculating who else was in the room. None of that prepared him for Vivienne. His palm settled at her waist. Her hand rested against his shoulder. The distance between them was entirely respectable and suddenly seemed insufficient. "You're angry," he said. Vivienne looked up. "I was. Past tense. I haven't decided. Useful. I thought you liked uncertainty. Only when I'm creating it." She almost smiled. Roman guided her through a turn. "I meant the apology." "I know. That doesn't fix it." "No. I'm discovering apologies are poorly designed. They're not designed to erase consequences." "Then what are they for?" Vivienne met his eyes. "To prove you understand what you did." Roman was quiet for several steps. Around them, couples moved beneath the chandeliers. "I'm not sure I do," he admitted. Vivienne's expression changed. "That may be the first intelligent thing you've said tonight." Cruel. Accurate. Roman's thumb shifted once against the fabric at her waist before he consciously stopped it. "I thought the joke was that I would bring my secretary instead of someone society expected." Vivienne held his gaze. "And what did society expect? A socialite? Someone decorative? Someone who belongs at these events? And you assumed I didn't." Roman did not answer. "That's the part you're missing," she said. "You weren't laughing because I'm incompetent. You know I'm not. You were laughing because the idea of me standing beside you as a woman instead of behind you as an employee felt absurd." Roman's jaw tightened. Not at her, but at the accuracy of it. "I never thought you were absurd." You didn't have to use the word. The song continued. Roman could have defended himself. He was good at defense. He could explain that he had never meant her body, never thought she was unattractive, never intended cruelty. All of it would be true, and none of it would answer her. "You're right," he said. Vivienne missed a step. Roman steadied her automatically. "Careful." She stared at him. "Did Roman Calderone just admit I'm right without legal counsel? Don't make me regret it." "Too late." The smallest smile appeared. Roman felt an unreasonable sense of victory. "I put you in a category," he continued. "Secretary. Very observant." I stopped looking beyond it. Vivienne's smile faded. "Yes, that was my mistake. One of them. How many are we tracking?" "I have a spreadsheet." "Of course you do." When the song ended, neither stepped away immediately. Roman became aware that people were watching them, but for the first time that evening he did not care. Vivienne did. She gently removed her hand from his shoulder. "We're being observed. Let them." Her eyes flickered. The phrase sounded different coming from him now. Before she could respond, applause rose near the auction stage as the master of ceremonies announced the final fundraising total. The room shifted toward the podium. Roman and Vivienne moved with it. But the conversation remained between them unfinished. Dario Vescari intercepted them near the edge of the crowd. "Calderone." Roman stopped. Vivienne felt his posture change beside her. Dario was younger than Roman by several years. Polished enough to look harmless in photographs and ambitious enough that nobody sensible believed it. "Vescari." Dario's gaze moved to Vivienne. "Miss Russo." "Mr. Vescari. We haven't met." "No. Yet you knew who I was." Vivienne smiled politely. "You were added to the guest list yesterday morning. I handle Mr. Calderone's schedule and event security coordination." Dario's eyes sharpened. "Impressive memory. It saves paper." Roman almost smiled. Dario did not. "I've heard Calderone keeps an exceptional secretary," Dario said. "Apparently the rumors undersold you." Roman's voice cooled. "Careful." Vivienne glanced at him. Dario smiled. "A compliment. Then make it sound like one." The men looked at each other. Vivienne understood immediately that this conversation had almost nothing to do with her appearance. Dario was probing, testing Roman's reaction, measuring access. She stepped in before testosterone converted a charity gala into a diplomatic incident. Mr. Vescari, your foundation pledged 200,000 tonight, didn't it? Dario looked at her. It did. Then, Doctor, Harcourt has been trying to find you for 20 minutes to thank you publicly. He's beside the west staircase. Dario glanced across the room. The doctor was indeed there. You keep track of everyone, he asked. Vivienne smiled. Only the people likely to become my problem. Dario laughed once. I understand why Calderone keeps you close. Roman's face hardened again, but Dario had already offered a polite nod and moved toward the staircase. Vivienne watched him go. He wasn't flirting. Roman looked at her. I know. He wanted to see what you'd do. I know. And you nearly gave him an answer. Roman's eyes narrowed. You're criticizing my reaction to a Vescari approaching you. I'm criticizing you for reacting before deciding what he wanted. He wanted information. Exactly. Roman looked toward Dario. You redirected him. He donated publicly. Harcourt genuinely does want him. You knew where Harcourt was. I know where everyone is. Roman's gaze returned to her. That is mildly terrifying. Thank you. The gala ended after midnight. By then, Vivienne's feet hurt. Roman had been approached by 3 people, asking some variation of where he had been hiding her. And Enzo had secured her promise of coffee on a day when Roman did not require her after 6. Roman had heard that exchange from several feet away and had disliked every word. He did not interfere. The restraint felt heroic. In the car, Vivienne removed her heels before they had cleared the hotel drive. Roman looked down. You're barefoot. A sophisticated observation. You spent 5 hours in those shoes. Beauty is pain. I thought the dress didn't create the person. Vivienne turned toward him. Surprised. You remembered. Roman frowned. Of course I remembered. Something in her face softened before she looked out the window. For several blocks the city moved past in reflected lights. Matteo had taken another car, leaving Roman and Vivienne alone behind the privacy partition. Roman loosened his bow tie. Enzo asked you for coffee. Vivienne's mouth twitched. You were listening. He was standing 6 feet away. 7. That distinction concerns me. She laughed softly. Yes, he asked. And you said yes. I did. Roman stared through the windshield. Vivienne waited. Do you have an objection? She asked. Would it matter? Professionally? Possibly. Personally? That depends on whether you have the courage to call it personal. Roman turned his head. Vivienne held his gaze. There it was again, the floor he had not checked for traps. Roman chose honesty. I don't like him looking at you. Vivienne's eyebrows rose. Why? I don't know. Poor answer. It's the accurate one. She considered him. Do you dislike Sebastian looking at me? Yes. The banker? Yes. The 72-year-old hospital trustee? Roman paused. He was excessive. Vivienne laughed so suddenly she had to cover her mouth. Roman watched her. This was not Secretary Russo's restrained office smile. It was warm, unguarded, and entirely worth being mocked for. You're jealous, she said. I'm evaluating a new problem. That is the most Roman Calderone way anyone has ever admitted jealousy. I did not admit anything. You categorized it. He sihil. Then her smile faded into something gentler. Be careful. Roman looked at her. With what don't decide you want me just because other men looked. The sentence struck harder than any teasing had. Vivienne continued. I'm not interested in becoming valuable to you because a ballroom voted. Roman's expression changed. I know. Do you? He wanted to say yes. Instead, he remembered the joke. The office. The way he had assumed she would be out of place. The way tonight had forced him to discover facts about her he could have learned at any point in 3 years simply by asking. No, he said finally. Not yet. Vivienne nodded. Then figure it out. The car stopped at her building. Roman looked through the window. I'll walk you up. No need. It's after midnight. There is security in the lobby. I know. Then good night. Boss. She reached for the door. Vivienne. She looked back. Roman had no clever line. No command. No solution. You were right about one thing. Only one. The dress didn't create anything. Her hand remained on the door handle. Roman continued. I was already wrong before you put it on. Vivienne went very still. Then she opened the door. Good night. Roman. He watched her cross the lobby. The next morning, Vivienne arrived at Calderone headquarters at 8:15, wearing charcoal trousers, a cream blouse, glasses, and her hair in its usual knot. She carried 2 folders and an iced coffee. The emerald gown might never have existed. Roman was already in his office. That was unusual. Vivienne entered. He looked up. For 1 second, neither spoke. Roman saw the same woman who had descended his staircase the night before, not because the blouse had changed, because his eyes had. Vivienne placed the folders on his desk. 9 o'clock with Rinaldi. 10:30 finance call. Your mother moved lunch to 1. Vescari requested a meeting for Thursday. Roman's attention sharpened, through whom his office contacted mine at 7:40. Reason unspecified. Roman opened the folder. Vivienne remained standing, and Enzo Bellaforte sent flowers. Roman's hand stopped. She waited. To the office, yes. For you, yes. Roman slowly looked up. Vivienne's expression was professionally flawless. He knew her well enough now to recognize the amusement hiding beneath it. Where are they, reception? Why? Because flowers traditionally require a physical location. Vivienne. She smiled. Good morning, boss. Then she walked out. Roman stared after her. From the adjoining office, Matteo's laughter came through the wall. Roman closed his eyes. The gala was over. The problem had only begun. The flowers remained in reception until 11:30, which Roman considered evidence of poor organizational discipline, and Vivienne considered evidence that he had entirely too much time to monitor floral arrangements. Enzo Bellaforte had sent peonies white, blush, and deep coral with a handwritten card Vivienne had read privately before putting it into her handbag. Roman knew none of this because he had not asked. He knew only that every time he passed reception, the arrangement seemed larger. By the 3rd pass, Matteo looked up from a chair in the waiting area and said, You know they aren't multiplying. Roman stopped. Why are you sitting here? Waiting for you to admit you've walked past these flowers 3 times. I had reasons. Name one. Roman looked toward Vivienne's office. She was on the phone, glasses low on her nose, one hand moving across a legal pad. Vescari requested Thursday. Matteo's amusement faded. I know. No reason given. Also, no. Roman glanced at the flowers. Matteo followed his gaze. Still not a security threat. Bellaforte is connected. So is the florist. Roman walked away before homicide became administratively inconvenient. The gala had changed something Roman could not put back. It would have been easier if Vivienne had changed with it. But she had not. She arrived at the same time, dressed with the same restrained professionalism. Corrected the same errors, and refused the same terrible coffee from the executive machine. The difference existed entirely in Roman. He noticed the curve of her cheek when she tucked the phone between her shoulder and ear. He noticed that she removed her glasses when a headache started and rubbed the bridge of her nose exactly twice. He noticed that she kept dark chocolate in the bottom drawer of her desk and broke each square neatly in half before eating it. He noticed the scent of her shampoo when she leaned over his shoulder to point out an error in a contract. None of these things were new. That was the problem. They had been happening 3 feet from him for years. At noon, Vivienne entered his office with a folder. "Your mother moved Sunday lunch again." Roman looked up. "Why?" "Because your Aunt Claudia scheduled a baptism." "Whose child?" "Your cousin Paolo's." "Paolo has a child." Vivienne stared at him. "She is 14 months old." Roman frowned. "I sent a gift." "I sent a gift." "Same thing." Vivienne's eyes narrowed. Roman immediately corrected himself. "Not the same thing. Growth." She put the folder down. "Also, your mother says if you arrive after 2, she will tell everyone embarrassing childhood stories. She does that anyway. Then punctuality costs you nothing." Vivienne turned to leave. Roman said, "What did Bellaforte write?" She stopped. Slowly. "Excuse me, the card." "You were reading my card?" "No." "Then why are you asking?" Roman leaned back. "Curiosity. You should try it on subjects that are your business. Is he taking you to coffee?" Eventually, when Vivienne looked at him for several seconds, "Would you like me to add my personal life to your calendar?" Roman heard the trap. "No." "Excellent." She walked out. Matteo entered 5 minutes later without knocking. "How did it go?" Roman looked at him. "How did what go? Your subtle interrogation. Were you listening?" The door was open. "Get out." Matteo sat down. "You asked when she was going for coffee, didn't you?" Roman said nothing. Matteo smiled. "This is better than television. You have responsibilities." Watching the head of the Calderone family develop a workplace crush feels like one. Roman's expression hardened. "It is not a crush." "Of course not. You're merely tracking a woman's flowers and dating schedule while noticing what shampoo she uses." Roman went still. Matteo's smile disappeared. "You do know what shampoo she uses. Get out." Matteo stood, laughing. At the door he turned. "For what it's worth, she's always been pretty." Roman looked down at the folder on his desk. "I know." Matteo paused. That answer was different. Roman heard it too. Thursday's meeting with Dario Vescari took place in the Calderone conference room at 3. Dario arrived with one attorney and a lieutenant named Salvatore Greco. Roman had Matteo beside him. Vivienne sat at the far end with a laptop because the meeting concerned a disputed commercial property and 3 overlapping charity contracts, all of which she had organized. Dario noticed her immediately. Roman noticed him noticing. Vivienne noticed both men and privately considered applying for employment somewhere with fewer territorial mammals. "Miss Russo," Dario said. "Mr. Vescari." "No emerald tonight." The room cooled. Vivienne did not blink. "We generally discourage evening wear at property meetings." Matteo looked down to hide a smile. Dario laughed. Roman did not. "Talk about the Grant Street parcel," he said. The meeting lasted 90 minutes. Dario's stated purpose was legitimate. A Vescari-controlled development company wanted access rights through a Calderone-adjacent warehouse corridor. His unstated purpose became obvious after 20. He asked too many questions about scheduling, deliveries, who authorized route changes, and which office received after-hours requests. Each question could be defended as ordinary business. Together they formed a map. Vivienne began answering differently. Logistics handles that. The appropriate department reviews requests. Security schedules are not part of this agreement. Dario's eyes flicked toward her more often as the meeting progressed. Roman allowed it because Vivienne was giving him nothing. At 4:20, Dario leaned back. "You're very careful, Miss Russo." Vivienne closed one document. "It's why I remain employed. Calderone trusts you. Mr. Calderone trusts several people, but they don't all control his calendar," Roman said. "Enough." Dario looked at him. A harmless observation. "Then you won't mind stopping." The men held each other's gaze. Vivienne saw exactly what Dario wanted, confirmation that she mattered. Not romantically, structurally. If Roman became visibly protective, Dario would know where pressure might work. She touched Roman's wrist beneath the edge of the table. Barely a contact. His attention shifted to her. Vivienne gave one tiny shake of her head. Roman's jaw tightened, but he leaned back. "Continue," he said. Dario smiled faintly. He had noticed something, though perhaps not what he expected. The meeting ended 12 minutes later, without agreement. After the Vescari party left, Roman waited until the elevator doors closed before turning to Vivienne. "You're off external meetings involving them." Vivienne shut her laptop. "No." Matteo quietly moved toward the door. Roman looked at him. "Stay." Matteo stopped with visible regret. Vivienne put the laptop into her bag. Dario was fishing. "I know." And he caught nothing. "Because I stopped him. Because I answered correctly." Roman's voice lowered. "He is interested in your access. Then removing me from meetings tells him my access matters enough to protect." Roman went silent. Matteo looked between them. Vivienne continued. "You want to keep me safe. Don't advertise where the weak point is." Roman's expression darkened. "You are not a weak point. Then stop treating me like one." The argument followed them into Roman's office. Vivienne closed the door. "You cannot decide I suddenly need protecting from a world I have worked inside for 3 years because you saw me in a dress." Roman's eyes flashed. "This has nothing to do with the dress." "Really?" Vescari asked about your access. "And I recognized it before you reacted. That doesn't make it safe. Neither does removing me from my job." Roman planted both hands on his desk. "I am responsible for everyone who works for me. You didn't ban Matteo from the meeting. Matteo carries a gun. So does half accounting. Probably. Vivienne. Roman." They stared at each other. He forced his voice down. "If Vescari decides you are useful leverage, then we handle it intelligently. We, yes. We. The people who have apparently been running this office together for 3 years. Roman straightened. "This isn't office politics. I know exactly what it is. Do you?" The question came sharper than he intended. Vivienne's face changed. Roman regretted it immediately. "I grew up around these families," she said. "You learned that 2 nights ago. Remember? That is not the same as what I do." "No, but it means I'm not an idiot." "I never said you were. You keep acting as if competence disappears the moment danger becomes personal." Roman came around the desk. "Because it is personal." The words stopped both of them. Vivienne looked up. Roman was close enough to see the tiny gold flecks in her brown eyes. He could have retreated into safer language. "Employee. Responsibility. Security protocol." Instead, he said, "I don't like Vescari looking at you as a way to get to me." Vivienne's expression softened for half a second, then steadied. "That is exactly why you cannot behave like I'm a way to get to you." Roman understood. He hated that he understood. You're asking me not to protect you. I'm asking you not to turn protection into possession. The words landed between them. Roman took one step back. Vivienne picked up her bag. Keep me informed. Change procedures if they need changing. Put security on the building if you have evidence. But don't quietly remove pieces of my job because you're frightened. Roman looked at her. I'm not frightened. Vivienne gave him a look so familiar that he almost laughed. Fine. Emotionally inconvenienced. That sounds more accurate. I know. She opened the door. And Roman, what Enzo is picking me up at 6. Roman's expression froze. Vivienne smiled without mercy. Thought you'd appreciate operational transparency. At 5:58, Roman was still in his office. He had completed approximately 11 minutes of productive work in the previous hour. At 6, a black Aston Martin stopped outside. Roman did not go to the window. At 6:01, he went to the window because the blinds needed inspection. Enzo stepped out wearing a dark coat. At 6:02, Vivienne emerged from her office wearing a burgundy wrap dress beneath a camel coat, her hair loose. Roman staret. Matteo appeared in the doorway. Blinds functioning, get out. Just checking facilities. Roman watched Enzo open the passenger door for Vivienne. She laughed at something he said. Then she looked up toward Roman's window. He stepped back too late. Matteo made a sound that could only be described as delighted, suffering. Vivienne's coffee with Enzo became dinner because the cafe kitchen closed early and Enzo knew a restaurant nearby. She enjoyed herself. That was inconvenient. He was attentive without hovering, flirtatious without making her body the central subject, and interested in her work without treating secretary as a synonym for decorative assistant. You like Calderone, he said, halfway through dinner. Vivienne nearly dropped her fork. Professionally. Enzo smiled. I didn't specify how. Then don't. Fair. He ate another bite. He likes you. Vivienne looked at him. Roman likes efficiency. He looked at me during that dance as if efficiency had asked you to marry it. Roman has recently discovered jealousy and is handling the diagnosis badly. Enzo laughed. That I believe. Vivienne leaned back. Does that bother you? Enzo considered. Would it be more flattering if I lied? No. Then yes. A little. But I asked you out because I wanted to. Not because I expected you to arrive emotionally unoccupied. She appreciated the answer. I don't know what I am. You don't have to. That sounds suspiciously mature. Don't tell anyone. I have a reputation. They smiled. For a while, the conversation moved elsewhere. But when Enzo drove her home, he did not try to kiss her. He touched her hand and said, If you want another dinner, call me. If you don't, I'll survive. Vivienne looked at him. You're annoyingly decent. My mother complains about it. She kissed his cheek. Good night. Enzo. Friday morning, Roman was in a terrible mood. Vivienne knew because he rejected coffee from a man who had brought it correctly. Matteo knew because Roman had corrected a typo in a security report that contained no strategic significance. Everyone else knew because the building possessed survival instincts. Vivienne entered Roman's office at 9 with the day's briefing. Good morning. Morning. Did you sleep? Yes. You look thrilled about it. Roman took the folder. How was dinner? Vivienne's mouth twitched. I thought you weren't tracking my personal life. I asked one question. Dinner was nice. Roman's thumb stopped on the folder. Nice. Yes. That is vague. It's a social interaction, not an intelligence report. Roman looked up. Are you seeing him again? Vivienne stared at him. Would you like to hear how this sounds from my side? Probably not. Excellent instinct. She turned toward the door. Roman said, "Vivienne." She stopped. "I'm trying." "At what?" He had no easy answer. Not being an ass. Vivienne considered him. "Mixed results." "I'm aware." "Then continue." She left, and Roman found himself smiling despite everything. The week after the gala should have settled them back into routine. Instead, Roman's awareness became more precise. He noticed Vivienne remembered his mother's cardiologist appointment and quietly blocked the hour afterward, because Roman always called her. He noticed she kept spare reading glasses for Matteo because he refused to admit he needed them. He noticed she knew which junior employees had children and never scheduled late meetings on school event nights if she could avoid it. He noticed the office did not merely run because she was organized. It ran because she paid attention to people. That realization embarrassed him more than attraction did. He had called her exceptional for years without understanding the quality that made her exceptional. Vivienne was not efficient because she saw people as tasks. She was efficient because she remembered they were people, while everyone else was reducing them to tasks. Roman had benefited from that care every day and categorized it as competence because competence was easier to acknowledge than intimacy. On Tuesday, his mother called at 11. Roman was in a meeting. So Vivienne answered, "Mrs. Calderone." "Ah, pause." Vivienne smiled. "Yes." He ate. Another pause. "No, I cannot prove it. You raised him. You know the limitations." Roman, across the conference table, narrowed his eyes. Vivienne turned away to hide her smile. "Sunday at 1. I'll remind him." She hung up. Roman said, "You conspire with my mother. Your mother requires no assistance. What did she want? To know if you're bringing me Sunday." The room went silent. Matteo slowly lowered his pen. Roman stared at Vivienne. She looked equally surprised by what she had just repeated. Why would she ask that, Roman said. Vivienne recovered first. Apparently she saw photographs from the gala. Matteo coughed. Roman ignored him. And she likes me. She already liked you. Yes. Then why would Vivienne's phone rang? She looked down. The caller ID changed her expression. Reception. She answered. Vivienne Russo. She listened. The amusement disappeared. Who delivered it? Another pause. Don't touch anything else. I'll come down. Roman stood immediately. What Vivienne ended the call. Another delivery. His face hardened. Bellaforte. No. Who? No name. They went downstairs with Matteo. A small white box sat on the reception counter. Security had already cleared the immediate area. There were no wires. No unusual weight. No obvious threat. The receptionist looked pale. It was delivered by courier. He left before I checked the card. Roman motioned for security to handle it. Vivienne stood beside him. Arms folded. The box was opened under protocol in a secure room. Inside was a single emerald silk ribbon, the exact shade of Vivienne's gala dress. Beneath it lay a card. No signature. Only 6 words. You looked beautiful beside your boss. Roman's face became completely still. Matteo swore. Vivienne stared at the card. The gala had been full of people. Photographs had circulated. The message could be crude admiration, intimidation, or bait, but the anonymous delivery transformed attention into something else. Roman turned to security. Pull every camera from the block. Courrier route. Vehicle. Face. Everything. Vivienne did not argue. Not this time. Roman looked at her. You're not going home alone. I know. You'll have a driver and 2 people until we know what this is. I know. His eyes searched her face. You're agreeing with me. This is evidence, she said quietly. Not fear pretending to be policy. Roman absorbed the distinction, then nodded. Fine. Vivienne looked again at the ribbon. Something cold moved through her stomach. Roman saw it. For 1 second he wanted to put her behind walls. Guards. Locked doors. Anything he could control. Instead, he remembered what she had asked of him. Keep me informed. Don't turn protection into possession. What do you need? He asked. Vivienne looked at him. The question mattered. Every gala photo involving me, she said. Guest list, staff list, press, access, photographers, vendors. And I want the original courier information before anyone decides what it means. Roman nodded. You'll have it. Matteo glanced between them. No argument. No order. They went back upstairs together. By late afternoon, they had narrowed the delivery to a courier account opened with false information. The gala photographs provided no obvious answer. Dario Vescari appeared in 6 images near Vivienne, but so did dozens of others. Enzo appeared in more. Sebastian appeared in 3. The message was designed to make suspicion spread. Vivienne sat at the conference table with her glasses pushed onto her head. Roman stood behind her reading a contact sheet. Whoever sent it wants us looking at the gala. Yes. Maybe at the men who approached you. Yes. Bellaforte. No. Roman looked at her. You sound certain. I'm not certain. I'm refusing to accuse someone because you dislike him. I don't dislike him. Vivienne looked up. Roman corrected. I dislike him selectively. Despite the situation. She smiled. Then Matteo entered carrying another folder. We found something. He put a printout on the table. A photograph from the gala loading entrance showed the courier who had delivered the box speaking to a man beside a catering truck. The man's face was partially turned away, but his lapel pin was visible, a small silver V. Vescari. Roman's expression went cold. Vivienne studied the image. It proves contact. Enough for me. Not enough for what you're thinking. Roman looked at her. What am I thinking? That depends. How many laws are involved? Matteo muttered. Several. Roman ignored him. Vivienne took off her glasses. Roman, if Dario wants you angry, don't reward him. He sent something to you. Someone connected to his family spoke to the courier. Same difference. No. That difference is where traps live. Roman stared at the photograph. She was right. Again, he hated that less than he used to. I'll verify it. Good. And until then, security stays. Good. Matteo looked almost disappointed by the absence of conflict. Roman noticed. Do you need something? No. I just miss when you two yelled. Vivienne threw a pen at him. Matteo caught it. Hostile workplace. Document it. He left. Silence settled. Vivienne gathered the photographs into a stack. Roman watched her hands. Are you scared? She stopped. The question was quiet. Vivienne did not make a joke. A little. Roman nodded. So, am. Her eyes lifted. There it was. No order. No coldness disguised as certainty. Just truth. Vivienne's expression softened. Roman stepped closer. But not too close. I'm going to find out who sent it. I know. And I'm going to try not to become unbearable while doing it. That may be the more difficult operation. I'm serious. So, am I. His mouth almost curved. Vivienne looked at him for another second. Then she said, Thank you for asking what I needed. Roman's smile disappeared. You shouldn't have to thank me for that. No. But I noticed. The words hit him with strange force. Vivienne returned to the photographs. Roman did too. Neither mentioned the moment again. The next morning, however, everything changed. Vivienne arrived at 8 and found her access badge waiting on her desk beside a sealed envelope from Human Resources. She frowned. Roman's office door was closed. Matteo was nowhere in sight. Vivienne opened the envelope. Inside was a formal notice. Effective immediately. All executive scheduling and external contact responsibilities involving Calderone security operations were being reassigned pending review. Her name remained on ordinary corporate work, but the sensitive part of her job, the part she had built over 3 years, was gone. Vivienne read the page twice. Her face became still. Then she stood. She walked into Roman's office without knocking. He was behind his desk with 2 security chiefs. Vivienne placed the notice in front of him. Out. The chiefs looked at Roman. He looked at Vivienne. Then at them. Give us the room. They left. The door closed. Vivienne folded her arms. You promised. Roman stood. This is temporary. You promised. I received additional intelligence this morning. What intelligence? That someone has been asking about your access to my movements. We're confirming it. And your response was to strip my responsibilities before telling me. I was going to tell you. When after HR did, Roman's jaw tightened. I made a security decision. You made a decision about my career. To keep you alive. Vivienne stared at him. There it was. The old Roman. Fear converted into authority. Concern converted into control. He saw the recognition in her face and knew immediately what he had done. Vivienne. No. She picked up the notice. You don't get to say my name like that and make this better. I'm not trying to make it better. Then what are you trying to do? Keep Vascari from using you. Her expression hardened. And you just showed him exactly how much pressure on me changes your behavior. Roman went silent. Vivienne's voice dropped. Worse. You showed me something. What that when you're afraid enough? Everything you said yesterday disappears. That isn't fair. No. There is a credible threat. Then talk to me. Increase security. Change protocols. Give me the intelligence. But you promised not to quietly remove pieces of my job. Roman came around the desk. I will not gamble with you. I am not yours to gamble with. He stopped. Vivienne's eyes were bright now, but her voice remained controlled. You keep doing this. Doing what? Deciding what I am before asking me. Roman's face changed. The sentence connected too cleanly to the gala. Secretary. Joke. Woman. Liability. Each time. A category. Each time. His decision. Vivienne continued. At the gala, you decided I didn't belong beside you. Then every man looked, and suddenly you decided I was something you wanted to watch. Vascari noticed me, and you decided I needed protection. Now someone asks about my access, and you decide I can't do the job I've done for 3 years. That is not what this means. It is exactly what it means from this side of the desk. Roman had no answer. Vivienne took a breath. Then she said the thing that hurt more than anger. Maybe you never respected me as much as I thought you did. Roman went completely still. Vivienne looked at him for 1 long second. Then she left. The office outside became silent when she crossed it. She did not slam her door. She sat at her desk, put on her glasses, opened her calendar, and became perfect. For the rest of the day, Vivienne Russo did not tease Roman once. She did not tell him his coffee was getting cold. She did not remind him that his mother hated waiting. She did not walk into his office without knocking. Every email began with Mr. Calderone. Every request ended with thank you. Every task was completed exactly as assigned. At 4:30, Roman received a calendar notification. Sunday lunch, Calderone residence, 1:00 p.m. No note beneath it. No warning about his mother. No yoke. Nothing. Roman stared at the screen. Matteo entered quietly. He looked toward Vivienne's glass office. Then at Roman. "What did you do?" Roman did not answer. Matteo saw the HR notice on the desk. His face changed. "You reassigned her temporarily." "You idiot." Roman looked up sharply. Matteo did not retreat. "She told you exactly what not to do. There's a threat. I know. I read the intelligence." "Then, you know why." "No, I know why you're scared." Roman stood. Matteo continued. "You think being the boss means fear becomes more respectable if you turn it into an order." Roman's expression went dangerous. Matteo ignored that too. "She trusted you to treat her like a person inside the problem." Roman looked through the glass. Vivienne was speaking to someone on the phone. Calm, professional, distant. He had spent 3 years believing that version of her was the whole woman. Now he knew better. That made watching her retreat behind it unbearable. "What do I do?" Roman asked. Matteo blinked. Roman rarely asked that question. "Fix the security problem." "I know." And then Roman waited. Matteo looked toward Vivienne. "Earn your secretary back." Roman's jaw tightened. "She's not just my secretary." Matteo looked at him. For once, there was no joke in his face. "I know." Roman looked through the glass again. Vivienne never glanced toward him. That evening, at 6 exactly, she walked into his office with her coat on and placed a folder on his desk. Tomorrow's schedule. Mr. Calderone. Roman hated the title. Vivienne. Is there anything else? Yes. She waited. He could apologize. He had already learned apologies without understanding were useless. He could reverse the reassignment. That would not erase the fact that he had made it. He could tell her he was afraid. Too late. So Roman did the only thing he could think of that did not ask her to make his guilt easier. "No," he said. "Have a good night." Vivienne nodded. "You too." She left. Roman remained behind his desk. Outside, the elevator doors closed. He looked at the empty doorway and understood something he should have learned before the gala. Before the dress. Before every man in the ballroom turned to look. Vivienne had never been invisible. He had simply mistaken access for attention. And now, for the first time in 3 years, she was showing him exactly what his life looked like when she gave him only the work he had paid for. For 4 days. Vivienne Russo became the most efficient stranger Roman Calderone had ever met. Nothing in the office failed. That was almost insulting. Meetings began on time. Calls were returned. Contracts appeared on his desk, with the relevant clauses flagged. And his mother's Sunday lunch remained on his calendar with the correct address, even though Roman had been going to the same house since childhood. Vivienne performed every duty still assigned to her with flawless precision. What disappeared were the things Roman had never understood were gifts. There was no sarcastic warning when he scheduled too much in one afternoon. No chocolate left beside a file after a brutal negotiation. No quiet, eat something when lunch passed untouched. No commentary when Matteo entered without knocking. She knocked now, every time. "Mr. Calderone, your 2 o'clock is here." "Mr. Calderone, legal needs your signature." "Mr. Calderone, your mother called." The title had become a locked door, and Roman had built it himself. He tried flowers first. Matteo found out because Matteo found out everything. "You sent her flowers?" he asked, standing in Roman's office, with the expression of a man witnessing an avoidable industrial accident. Roman looked up. "Yes." After the anonymous ribbon delivery, Roman's face hardened. "They came from a vetted florist." "That isn't my point." "Then make one." Matteo sat down. "You hurt her because you made a decision over her head. Your solution is to send something she didn't ask for without talking to her." Roman stared at him. Matteo spread his hands. "I'm only saying the symbolism is ambitious." Roman's phone buzzed. "Reception," he answered. "Yes." The receptionist sounded uncomfortable. "Mr. Calderone." Miss Russo asked whether the flowers can be moved to the lobby. Roman closed his eyes. "Why?" "A pausa." She said everyone should enjoy them. Matteo covered his mouth. The flowers went to reception. The next morning, Roman tried a different approach. Vivienne opened her email at 8:16 and found a compensation adjustment from Human Resources. 15%. Effective immediately. She read it twice, walked into Roman's office, and placed a printed copy on his desk. "Is this connected to a formal review?" Roman looked up. "No." "Expanded responsibilities?" "No." "Cost of living adjustment?" "Vivienne." "Then what is it?" He leaned back. "You're underpaid." "I was underpaid last week." "Probably. And you discovered that after I became angry with you, those events can coexist." Vivienne nodded thoughtfully. "Then please have HR conduct a compensation benchmark for the entire executive staff. If my salary is below market, adjust it based on documented criteria." Roman stared at her. "You're refusing a raise." "I'm refusing an apology disguised as payroll." She turned. "And if the benchmark says I deserve 15%, I expect 17. Roman almost smiled. "Why 17? Vivienne looked over her shoulder. "Emotional damages." It was the first joke she had made to him in 4 days. Roman felt absurdly hopeful. Then she added, "Please send future compensation questions through HR. Mr. Calderone." The door closed. Hope died quickly. By Wednesday, Roman had stopped trying to buy his way out of the problem. He reversed the reassignment. But he did not simply restore Vivienne's access and pretend nothing had happened. He called a security review with Matteo, the chief of protection, legal counsel, and Vivienne. This time, before the meeting began, he placed the intelligence report in front of her. "This is what came in the morning I changed your responsibilities." Vivienne opened it. A confidential source had reported that someone associated with Vescari Logistics was asking which Calderone employee controlled Roman's daily movements, last-minute route changes, private appointments, and family commitments. Her name had not been used, but the description was obvious. Vivienne read every line. Roman waited. "You should have shown me this," she said. "Yes, immediately." "Yes." She looked up, apparently surprised by the absence of defense. Roman continued, "I still think temporarily limiting access was defensible as one option. I was wrong to make it alone." Vivienne's gaze remained on him. "Those are different statements." "I know." "Good." They spent 2 hours redesigning procedure. Sensitive schedule information would no longer sit with one person, not because Vivienne was being demoted, but because the existing system had made her a single point of failure. Roman's private movements would require 2-person authorization for late changes. Family appointments would be separated from corporate calendars. Vivienne retained executive control, but gained a deputy trained to handle overflow. Security received alerts without access to unnecessary personal details. It was, Vivienne admitted privately, better than the old system. More importantly, Roman asked for her opinion before each change. He disagreed twice. She disagreed 3 times. Nobody confused disagreement with disobedience. After the meeting, Vivienne remained behind, gathering papers. Roman waited until the others left. "Does this fix it?" he asked. She did not pretend not to understand. "The security problem. Us." Vivienne slid the report into a folder. "No." Roman nodded. "I thought not. You sound disappointed." "I am. Good." He raised an eyebrow. Vivienne finally looked at him. "You're accustomed to problems ending when you make the correct operational decision. This isn't operational. I'm beginning to notice. Painfully, extremely." Her mouth twitched. Roman saw it and did not push. That afternoon, a velvet box appeared on Vivienne's desk. She stared at it. Then at Roman's closed office door. Matteo happened to be passing and stopped. "Oh no." Vivienne looked at him. "What, nothing? You know what this is." "I know Roman has the emotional instincts of a man raised by wolves with excellent credit." Vivienne opened the box. Inside was a vintage gold bracelet. Beautiful. Understated. Probably worth more than her first car. She closed the lid. "Matteo Sihil. I'll tell him." "No." Vivienne picked up the box. "I will." Roman was on a call when she entered. She placed the box directly in front of him. He looked at it, then at her, and ended the call. "You don't like it. It's beautiful. Then keep it." "No." "Vivienne. Flowers. Salary. Jewelry. Are you planning to reach real estate before Friday?" Roman leaned back slowly. "I'm trying to apologize." "No. You already apologized." "Then I'm trying to make amends. With objects. Objects are useful. Not for this." Roman looked genuinely frustrated. "What do you want from me?" Vivienne became still. There it was. The question he should have asked before sending anything. She sat in the chair opposite him. "I want you to understand why it hurt." "I thought I did." "You understand the security decision. And the gala, pieces of it." Roman said nothing. Vivienne folded her hands. "Do you know why I stayed working for you? Because I pay well." She gave him a look. Apparently not well enough. Another look. Roman surrendered. "Tell me." "Because you respected my work." Her voice was calm. "Do you know how rare that was when I started? I had worked for men who asked me to take notes in meetings I was qualified to lead. Men who called me sweetheart and then repeated my ideas 10 minutes later as if they'd invented them. Men who assumed, because I'm a large woman, I should be grateful for any attention. And men who assumed because I'm a woman. Organization must come naturally instead of being a skill I built." Roman's face hardened, but Vivienne lifted a hand. "Don't go looking for names. That isn't the point." He stayed silent. "You interviewed me yourself," she continued. "You asked about crisis management, vendor negotiation, executive systems, and confidentiality. You never asked whether I was married. You never told me to smile. You never commented on my body. When I disagreed with you in my second week, you asked me to prove my argument. I did. You changed the plan." A small, sad smile touched her mouth. I thought finally. A difficult man, but at least a fair one. Roman looked down. "Then you invited me to the gala as a joke." His eyes lifted. Vivienne held them. "And I realized you could respect everything I did and still look at me as a woman and see something ridiculous." Roman's face changed. "Vivienne, let me finish." He did. The gala wasn't painful because you didn't think I was beautiful. You're allowed not to want me. You're allowed not to notice me. I don't need every man to find me attractive in order to believe I'm attractive." Her voice tightened for the first time. "It hurt because I thought your respect included me, not just the useful parts." Roman sat completely still. Vivienne continued, quieter now. "Then everyone looked. And suddenly you looked too. Suddenly you cared who danced with me, who sent flowers, who took me to dinner. Do you understand how dangerous that feels from where I'm sitting? Because it might only be competition." "Yes." Roman nodded once. "And then Vescari happened," she said. "You were scared, and the first thing you did was take control away from me. So I'm left wondering whether you respect me only when respect is convenient." The office was silent. Roman could hear the muted movement of staff beyond the glass. He looked at the bracelet between them. It seemed stupid now. "I was wrong at the gala," he said. Vivienne waited. "Not because every man looked at you and proved something to me. They didn't prove anything." He leaned forward, forearms on his knees. "They embarrassed me into noticing what I had trained myself not to notice." Vivienne's brow furrowed. Roman searched for language he did not usually need. "You worked for me. You were good at it. Better than good. I put you in the safest category I had, indispensable employee. I didn't examine anything outside it because I didn't want complications, and because I thought categorizing you was the same as knowing you." His mouth tightened. "Then I made the joke, and I heard what it meant only after you repeated it back to me." Vivienne said nothing. "At the gala, I saw men looking at you. Yes, I was jealous." He grimaced as though the word had a bad taste. "I hated it. But that wasn't the first moment you became attractive. It was the first moment I understood I had been editing you in my own head." Her expression shifted. Roman continued, before courage became unavailable. "I remembered you asleep at your desk during the Marino acquisition because you had been awake 30 hours. I remembered you arguing with a contractor twice your size because he spoke badly to the receptionist. I remembered you bringing my mother soup when she had the flu and telling me you happened to be nearby. Even though you live 40 minutes in the other direction, I remembered you standing in this office the morning my uncle died and canceling everything before I could ask." His voice lowered. "None of that happened at the gala." Vivienne's eyes had gone bright. Roman did not move closer. "I should have seen the woman doing those things," he said. "Instead, I saw the function they served in my life." A long silence followed. Then Vivienne looked down at the bracelet. "That," she said softly, "is an apology." Roman exhaled. "Can I give you the bracelet now?" she laughed, despite herself. "No. Worth trying." Vivienne pushed the box toward him. Roman accepted defeat. "Keep the flowers in reception too, they look nice there." "What about the raise, 17% pending benchmark?" His mouth curved. For the first time in days. Hers did too. It did not fix everything. But the locked door opened an inch. The next break came from Dario Vescari. 2 days later, Vivienne received an email from a foundation administrator she knew casually. It appeared ordinary, a request to confirm Roman's attendance at a private donor dinner. The sender's address was correct. The signature was correct. The dinner existed. Vivienne would normally have replied with a simple confirmation. She did not. The wording bothered her, not the question itself, the specificity. Will Mr. Calderone be arriving directly from his mother's residence? As previously indicated, Vivienne stared at the sentence. Roman's mother's residence had never been indicated, not to the foundation, not on any external calendar. She checked the email headers, then called the administrator, using the number already stored in her contacts. The woman answered, Claire, did you email me 5 minutes ago? No. Vivienne's stomach tightened. Do not access your foundation email until your IT team checks it. She hung up and walked directly into Roman's office. This time she did not knock. Roman looked up. One glance at her face, and he closed the document in front of him. What? We have a breach attempt. Within 20 minutes, security had isolated the message. It was not sophisticated enough to compromise Calderone's systems by itself. Its purpose was social engineering. Prompt Vivienne to confirm a route, a family location, and a schedule detail in one innocent reply. The sender had spoofed an account belonging to someone Vivienne knew. Matteo looked at the screen. They knew she'd recognize the name. Vivienne nodded. And they knew I handled donor confirmations. Roman's expression was cold, but he did not tell her to leave the room. He looked at her. What do you see? Vivienne noticed. So did Matteo. She pulled a chair closer. They're working from observation, not internal access. They know patterns but not specifics. Otherwise, they wouldn't need me to confirm the route. Roman nodded. Meaning the earlier questions about my access weren't proof they had someone inside. They were trying to build the map. Matteo said, Vescari. Likely. Vivienne replied, Not proven. Roman looked at the message. What would they expect after you replied? A follow-up. Maybe a last-minute change request. Maybe they'd use the confirmation to place someone along a route. Roman's eyes went flat. Vivienne continued. So give them a route. Matteo looked at her. Roman did not. No. She folded her arms. You asked what I see. I did. I see someone expecting me to behave predictably. Let's be predictable. Absolutely not. Vivienne's expression cooled. Roman caught himself. He closed his eyes briefly, then opened them. Explain. Matteo looked fascinated by the visible effort. Vivienne did not reward Roman for basic self-control, but some of the tension left her shoulders. We respond through a controlled channel. Confirm a false departure point. Security watches it. Nobody travels the route. Nobody is exposed. Roman considered. Can they trace the response to our system, IT? Can sandbox it? Matteo nodded. It's workable. Roman looked at Vivienne. You don't go anywhere near the location. I wasn't planning to. You remain here during the operation. If that is a security requirement applied to everyone involved. It is. Then fine. Roman almost smiled. Was that a negotiation? Don't ruin it. The trap worked. At 7 to 10 that evening, a man in a maintenance van parked across from the false departure point. He photographed every vehicle leaving the underground garage. At 7:23, he transmitted images to a prepaid phone. At 7:29, Calderone Security followed him to a warehouse leased through a shell company linked to Vescari Logistics. The evidence was not enough to start a war. It was enough to end the guessing. Roman stood in the security room looking at the warehouse photographs, while Matteo spoke with legal counsel. Vivienne remained beside the monitors. You were right, Roman said. She looked at him. About the trap. I know. Humility looks unnatural on you. So does obedience. She smiled. Then Roman's phone rang. Matteo answered his own at the same moment. Both men's expressions changed. Roman said, What happened? Matteo listened, then looked at him. Dario knows we followed the van. Vivienne's smile disappeared. How? We don't know. Roman's gaze moved to the monitors. A new message appeared on the secured line. One sentence. Clever secretary. Roman went still. Vivienne stared at it. The phrase was deliberate. Not beautiful woman. Not galadate. Secretary. Dario, or whoever was behind the messages, had finally made the target explicit. Roman's instincts surged toward the old answer. Remove her, hide her, control every variable. He looked at Vivienne. She was pale but steady. What do you need? He asked. Her eyes met his. Don't send me home. Roman nodded. Done. I want to see everything that comes in. Done. And I want my family checked quietly. Not frightened. Checked. Roman turned to Matteo. You heard her. Matteo nodded and left. Vivienne exhaled. Roman lowered his voice. Anything else? She hesitated. Yes. What stay? The word was almost inaudible. Roman did. They spent the night in the secured conference suite with Matteo. 2 analysts. And enough coffee to damage everyone's judgment. No cinematic gunfight followed. No masked men stormed the building. Instead, there were phone records, corporate registrations, delivery logs, gala vendor lists, and hours of tedious cross-checking, the kind of work Vivienne understood better than violence. At 2 a.m, she found the connection. The catering company from the gala had subcontracted temporary loading staff. One subcontractor shared an address with the shell company that leased the Vascari warehouse. Vivienne leaned toward the screen. There. Roman moved behind her. She pointed. Gala loading staff. Courrier contact. Warehouse. Matteo read the records. That ties the ribbon delivery to the same network. And the spoofed email, Roman asked. Not directly, Vivienne said, but it establishes the pattern. Roman looked at her. You did that. We did. He shook his head. No, you saw it. Vivienne glanced up. Careful. Compliments after 2 a.m. can be legally binding. Roman's mouth curved. Matteo stood. I'm going to pretend I don't hear whatever happens next. Nothing is happening next, Vivienne said. Tragic. He left to call the security team. Roman and Vivienne remained alone. The room was dim except for monitors. Vivienne removed her glasses and rubbed her eyes. Roman remembered noticing that habit after the gala. Now he understood the difference between noticing and knowing. You're exhausted. So are you. I'm accustomed to bad decisions at this hour. That explains your dating history. Roman laughed. Actually laughed. Vivienne looked at him in surprise. What, I've never heard that sound. You have? No. I've heard the threatening exhale you call amusement. He leaned against the table. Cruel woman. Difficult man. The quiet returned. Softer this time. Roman looked at her. Vivienne. She knew from his tone this was not about the warehouse. What? I meant what I said. Tonight. In my office. About seeing you. She looked down at her glasses. Roman continued. And I know saying it doesn't create an obligation for you. Her eyes lifted. That sentence must have physically hurt. More than you know. Vivienne smiled faintly. Then he said, I want to take you to dinner. The smile disappeared. Roman did not retreat. Not as my secretary. Not as a gala emergency. Not because Bellaforte asked first. Roman, you can say no. That isn't the only problem. I know. Do you? You work for me. Yes. That means anything between us is complicated before it begins. Vivienne studied him. He had thought about it. That mattered. Roman continued. So I'm not asking tonight. Her eyebrows rose. You just did. I stated intent. That sounds suspiciously like a loophole. It is. Despite herself. She smiled. I won't ask while your position depends directly on me, he said. Vivienne's expression became serious. Roman went on. You should have been promoted before any of this. Not because of us. Because half the operations decisions in this building already pass through you. Roman, I had HR pull the last 3 years of role data. Not compensation. Responsibilities. Vivienne starred. You did what? Before you become angry. Matteo and legal reviewed it. Your actual job stopped being executive secretary about 18 months ago. She said nothing. You manage vendor escalation, executive logistics, cross-department scheduling, donor coordination, crisis response, and half the internal operating calendar. You train department assistants who don't report to you. You built 2 procedures security now uses. Vivienne slowly put her glasses down. Roman's voice remained even. There is an open director of operations position. Her eyes narrowed. No. He blinked. No, not if you're giving it to me because you want to date me. I'm not. Then prove it. How run the process? Roman understood immediately. Interview. Yes. Other candidates. Yes. Independent panel. Yes. Compensation benchmark. 17%. He almost smiled. Possibly more. Vivienne leaned back. And you do not sit on the final panel. Roman disliked that, which meant it was probably correct. Fine. She studied him. You'd do that, yes. Even if they choose someone else, Roman paused. Vivienne's eyebrows rose. Hill. Yes. Painful. Extremely. Good. Roman looked at her for a long moment. You really enjoy this. A little. The next week moved quickly. With the evidence from the warehouse, the Calderones confronted the Vescari family through intermediaries rather than gunfire. Dario denied authorizing the intimidation campaign. Roman did not believe him. Neither did Matteo. But the shell company records, courrier, contact, and surveillance operation gave the Calderones enough leverage to force the Vescari leadership to shut down the network and remove the men involved. Dario lost control of 2 logistics contracts and, more importantly, credibility with older members of his own family. The conflict did not end because Roman shot someone. It ended because the Vescari elders decided Dario's little intelligence game had become expensive. Vivienne remained protected until the threat was formally closed. This time, she participated in every briefing. No one called her a liability. 3 weeks later, she sat before an interview panel of 4 people Roman had deliberately avoided. She presented a 90-day operations plan, answered questions about security integration, vendor consolidation, staffing, and executive workflow, and left convinced she had talked too quickly during the finance section. At 4 that afternoon, HR called. Miss Russo? Yes. We'd like to offer you the Director of Operations position. Vivienne closed her eyes. For 1 second, she said nothing. Then she smiled. Send me the compensation package. The HR director laughed. I was warned you'd say that. By whom, Mr. Rinaldi? Smartman. The package arrived 10 minutes later. It was 22% above her current salary. Vivienne stared at it, then walked toward Roman's office. She stopped outside the door. For 3 years, she had entered without knocking. For the last several weeks, she had knocked because distance felt safer. Now she raised her hand, paused, and opened the door without knocking. Roman looked up. His eyes went immediately to the envelope in her hand, while Vivienne kept her expression neutral. They offered it to someone else. Roman's face fell. Genuinely. Oh, Vivienne nearly broke. He stood. Who? She held it for 2 more seconds, then smiled. Me. Roman Staret. Vivienne laughed. He came around the desk before stopping himself a few feet away. You got it. I got it. I knew you would. You were not allowed to know anything. I had faith. That sounds dangerously sentimental. I'm having a difficult month. She looked at him. The space between them felt different. No longer boss and secretary. Not yet anything else. Roman glanced at the offer letter. 22 Vivienne's eyebrows rose. You saw the package, no. Matteo bet 20. You bet on my salary, I bet against Matteo. That is somehow worse. Roman smiled. Vivienne folded the letter. So, you said you wouldn't ask, while my position depended directly on you. Roman became very still. I did. My reporting line is the COO now. I'm aware. Of course you are. Roman looked at her. The humor faded. Vivienne Russo. Would you have dinner with me? She let him wait. Not cruelly. Just long enough for him to understand that the answer belonged entirely to her. Then she said, No. Roman blinked. Vivienne almost smiled. Not yet. His expression sharpened with cautious hope. Why? Because I'm still angry. Fair. Because I don't completely trust what changed between us. Also, fair. And because I want to enjoy this promotion for at least one evening without wondering whether everyone thinks I got it because Roman Calderone wants to take me to bed. Roman's jaw tightened. Anyone who says that Vivienne lifted one finger. He stopped. Right. She smiled. Growth. Roman nodded. How long, I don't know. I dislike that answer. I know. Can I ask again, eventually? How will I know when you won't? That seems inefficient. Life is difficult. Roman looked at her for another second. Then he smiled. Not the mafia boss smile used before negotiations. Not the thin curve he gave people when they had made a mistake. A real one. Congratulations. Director Russo. Vivienne's chest tightened unexpectedly. Thank you, Mr. Calderone. He winced. She laughed. Then she turned toward the door. Vivienne. She looked back. Roman nodded toward the bracelet box, still sitting unopened on a shelf where he had put it after she returned it. What am I supposed to do with that? Vivienne considered. Give it to your mother. She'll ask why. Tell her you made a mistake. She'll want details. Then suffer. Roman Sihil. Vivienne opened the door. And Roman, yes, you can send flowers when you're congratulating someone. His eyes narrowed. Is that permission? It's operational guidance. She left before he could answer. The next morning, a small arrangement appeared on Vivienne's new desk. No roses. No extravagant peonies. Just yellow tulips. The card contained one line. You earned every inch of this office. Vivienne read it twice, then placed it beside her computer. Across the floor, through the glass walls of his office. Roman pretended not to watch. Vivienne looked up, caught him, and smiled. He smiled back. For now, that was enough. 6 weeks after Vivienne Russo became Director of Operations, Roman Calderone learned that promotion had made her more dangerous. As his executive secretary, she had controlled his calendar from a desk outside his office. As Director of Operations, she controlled systems. He could not intimidate by walking into a room. She had reorganized vendor approvals, reduced 3 redundant weekly meetings to 1, forced Matteo to submit written security requests instead of appearing in doorways with the word problem, and introduced a quarterly operations review that Roman privately considered an act of bureaucratic warfare. She no longer brought him coffee. She no longer reminded him to eat. She no longer knew every detail of his day unless the detail affected her department. Strangely, Roman liked the boundaries. They made every voluntary interaction matter more. When Vivienne stopped by his office simply to ask whether his mother's birthday dinner had gone well, he knew she was asking because she wanted to know. when she sent him a message at 10 at night that said, "Stop emailing my team. Go to sleep." He knew the insult was personal rather than contractual. He had never imagined freedom could make attention feel more valuable. He also kept asking her to dinner, not every day. Roman had enough dignity to wait at least 48 hours between rejections. The first time, Vivienne said, "No." The second, still no. The third, "You do understand repetition is not a negotiation strategy." Roman replied, "It has worked in other industries." The fourth time, she stared at him over a folder and said, "Are you counting?" "Yes." "That is deeply unattractive." "You're smiling." "I contain multitude." He did not ask a fifth time. That bothered her more than it should have. Vivienne discovered this on a Thursday afternoon when Roman passed her in the corridor, nodded, said, "Director Russo," and continued toward a meeting without attempting to extract dinner from her. She watched him go. Sofia Rinaldi, who happened to be walking beside her, watched Vivienne watch him. "Problem?" Sofia asked. "No." "You looked disappointed." "I did not." "Of course." Vivienne resumed walking. Sofia kept pace. "How many times has he asked for?" "And you said no 4 times." "Correct. And now he has respected your answer." "Apparently." Sofia nodded solemnly. "Monster." Vivienne gave her a look. Sofia laughed. "You wanted him to ask again." "I wanted." Vivienne stopped. That was the problem. She no longer knew what she wanted from the ritual. At first, every refusal had been necessary. She needed to know Roman could hear no without punishing her, withdrawing professionally, or turning cold. He had. Each time he had accepted the answer, made some dry complaint, and treated her exactly the same afterward. Somewhere between the third invitation and the fourth, the test had stopped being a test. She simply had not admitted it. That evening, Roman attended a family dinner at his mother's house. Vivienne was not there. She had no reason to be. She spent the evening in her own apartment eating Thai food with Alessia and reviewing furniture for the new operations floor. At 9:30, her phone lit up. "Roman, my mother wants to know why you are avoiding her." Vivienne smiled. "Vivienne, I am not avoiding your mother." "Roman, she says you have not visited in 8 weeks." "Vivienne, I have a family of my own." "Roman, I told her that." Vivienne and Roman, she rejected the premise. Vivienne laughed. A second message arrived. "Roman, she also wants to invite you to the Bella Forte Foundation Gala next month." Vivienne stared at the screen. The Bella Forte Gala. Another ballroom. Another formal night. Another room full of the same people who had watched Roman arrive with his secretary as a joke. "Vivienne, why is your mother inviting me, Roman? Because apparently I am no longer trusted with invitations." "Vivienne, sensible woman." "Roman, I agree more often than I admit." Then nothing. Vivienne waited. Roman did not ask her to go with him. She put the phone down. Alessia looked over from the sofa. "You're frowning at a man." "I'm frowning at a phone." "Phones don't have shoulders like that." Vivienne threw a cushion at her. The following Monday, the Bella Forte Gala appeared on Vivienne's professional calendar because operations staff were coordinating Calderone attendance. Roman's guest field was blank. She noticed. She resented noticing. By Wednesday, it was still blank. On Friday, Matteo walked into her office and asked whether she had approved the revised transport plan. Vivienne signed it. "Who is Roman taking?" Matteo's eyebrows rose. Vivienne immediately regretted the question. "To what?" "The gala." Matteo's mouth twitched. "Why seating? You don't manage seating." Operations touches everything. That sounds medically concerning. Vivienne pointed at the door. Matteo laughed. As far as I know, nobody. I didn't ask. You literally did. Leave. Roman heard about the exchange within an hour because Matteo was disloyal in highly specific ways. He entered Vivienne's office, closed the door, and sat opposite her desk. I'm told you have operational concerns about my date. Vivienne did not look up. I'm firing Matteo. Get in line. Your personal arrangements are not my concern. Good. Good. Roman waited. Vivienne continued reading. He remained seated. Finally, she looked up. Do you need something? No. Then why are you here? I enjoy your office. You criticized the chairs. They've improved. They are the same chairs. I've grown. Vivienne fought a smile. Roman saw it. Why didn't you ask again? She said. The question escaped before she could stop it. Roman's amusement vanished. Because you said no. Vivienne looked down at the report. That hasn't stopped you before. You said no 4 times. I remember. So I decided the 5th invitation should be yours to request. Her eyes lifted. Roman leaned back. You wanted choice. I'm giving you choice. That sounds suspiciously healthy. I dislike it. Vivienne laughed softly. Roman watched her, then stood. I'll be at the gala. I know. Alone. I know. If that changes, operations will receive appropriate notice. Very professional. I'm trying. He reached the door. Vivienne said, Roman. He turned. She almost did it. Almost said, Ask me. Instead, she said, Nothing. Roman nodded once and left. Vivienne stared at the closed door. Coward, she muttered to herself. 2 weeks later, the final report on the Viscari intimidation campaign arrived. Dario had not personally sent the ribbon or spoofed the donor email. The operation had been run by Salvatore Greco, his lieutenant, who believed gaining leverage over Roman's schedule would strengthen Dario's position within the family. Dario had known Greco was gathering information but claimed not to know the methods. Nobody in the Calderone organization believed that distinction made him innocent. It did, however, make the political solution easier. Greco was removed from Viscari operations and sent out of state under family pressure. Dario lost authority over logistics and was forced to sign a commercial settlement that heavily favored Calderone interests. The threat against Vivienne was officially closed. Roman brought the final report to her himself. She read it. So that's it. That's it. No more security detail unless you miss them. One of them judges my parking. He judges everyone's parking. He called mine creative. Roman sat across from her. Vivienne closed the folder. I'm glad it ended without anyone dying. So is legal. I meant you. Roman looked at her. Vivienne continued. 6 months ago. Would this have ended differently? Yes. The honesty surprised her. What changed? Roman considered. You. She stiffened slightly. He shook his head. Not because I need to impress you. You made me realize I was treating every problem like the only respectable answer was control. Sometimes control works. Sometimes it creates the exact weakness someone is looking for. Vivienne studied him. That sounds almost wise. Don't spread it around. I have a reputation to protect. Roman smiled. Then his expression became serious. I also learned something else. What being afraid for someone does not give you ownership of their choices. Vivienne went still. Roman stood. That one was expensive. Yes, I deserved the invoice. Yes. He nodded toward the report. You're safe. For now. For now. Roman turned to leave. Vivienne looked at him. The man who had once invited her to a gala because he thought the contrast would amuse people was walking away without asking anything from her. She hated how much that mattered. Roman. He turned. Would you like to go to the Bellaforte Gala with me? For the first time since she had known him. Roman Calderone looked genuinely stunned. Vivienne enjoyed it for approximately 3 seconds. Then his eyes narrowed. Are you inviting me? Yes. As your guest, yes. Professionally, no. His expression changed. Vivienne stood. Don't make me repeat myself. Roman walked back toward her desk. Vivienne Russo. Are you asking me on a date? She folded her arms. I'm reconsidering. Yes. I haven't finished. Yes. You don't even know the conditions. Yes. She stared. Roman smiled. Yes. Vivienne laughed. Fine. Pick me up at 7. I'll be there at 6:50. 7. 6:55. Roman. 7. The night of the Bellaforte Gala. Roman arrived at Vivienne's building at 6:58 and remained in the car until 7 because he had learned survival skills. When Vivienne entered the lobby, he was waiting outside the vehicle rather than sending a driver upstairs. She wore midnight blue this time. A gown with a square neckline and long sleeves of sheer fabric. Fitted unapologetically over the body, Roman had once somehow trained himself not to see. Her curls were swept to one side. Her glasses were gone. She wore the yellow gold earrings her grandmother had given her at 21. Roman looked at her. Vivienne stopped in front of him. Careful. With what you're staring. I know. People may get the wrong idea. I'm hoping they do. Her smile came slowly. Roman opened the car door. No joke tonight. His face changed. No. Vivienne held his gaze. Roman added, I'm sorry that question can still exist. She had not expected that. Her expression softened. Good answer. They drove to the gala. This time, there was no awkward silence in the car. Vivienne told Roman about an argument between 2 operations managers over warehouse software. Roman told her Matteo had attempted to cancel a dental appointment by claiming a security emergency. She laughed. He watched her laugh. When the car stopped outside the Bellaforte Foundation's hotel, neither moved immediately. Roman looked at her. Nervous Vivienne raised an eyebrow. About a gala. About me. She considered. A little. Good. That is not the correct response. I'm nervous too. Vivienne starred. Roman adjusted his cuff. I dislike saying that. I can tell. Do not become accustomed to it. Too late. They stepped out together. The ballroom reaction was different this time. People still looked at Vivienne. Of course they did. Some remembered the emerald dress. Some knew about her promotion. Some had heard enough gossip to be curious about why Roman Calderone was again arriving beside the woman who had once been introduced as his secretary. But Vivienne no longer felt like a reveal. She was not stepping into a room to prove Roman wrong. She was simply entering it. A woman near the entrance greeted her first. Director Russo. Congratulations. Vivienne smiled. Thank you. Roman heard the title. Something warm moved through him. Then Enzo Bellaforte appeared. He looked immaculate. Irritatingly so. Roman disliked him on principle. Enzo greeted Vivienne with a kiss on the cheek. Director, Enzo, you came. You invited half the city. I only cared about the useful half. His eyes moved to Roman. Calderone. Bellaforte. Enzo smiled. You look less murderous than last time. Disappointing deeply. Vivienne, Sihil. Children. Enzo laughed. Then he looked at her. Dance, later. Roman said nothing. Vivienne noticed. Enzo noticed too. Vivienne smiled. Maybe. Roman still said nothing. Enzo's eyebrows rose. Remarkable progress. Walk away. Bella forte. There he is. Enzo left laughing. Vivienne turned to Roman. You survived. Barely. You didn't answer for me. I considered it. I know. How? Your jaw. Roman exhaled. Vivienne slipped her arm through his. Come on. They entered the crowd. Dinner passed without incident. Roman did not interrogate every man who spoke to Vivienne. Vivienne did not monitor whether Roman noticed women speaking to him. They danced once before dessert and again after the auction. The second dance was slower. Roman's hand rested at her waist. Vivienne looked up. This feels familiar. The last time you danced with me, you were still angry. I'm still a little angry. Comforting. You want me to forget? No. The answer came immediately. Vivienne's expression changed. Roman continued. I want you to remember and still decide whether I'm worth the risk. That's inconveniently mature. I've had coaching. Matteo. God. No. She laughed. Roman moved her through a slow turn. Around them. The ballroom glittered. Why me? Vivienne asked. Roman looked at her. Dangerous question. I'm serious. So, and I. Why me? Now Roman was quiet for a moment. Then he said, Not because of the dress. Vivienne waited. Not because Bellaforte wanted you. Enzo, dancing several couples away, happened to glance over. Roman ignored him. Not because every man turned to look. Vivienne's fingers tightened slightly on his shoulder. Roman continued. Because when you stopped giving me the parts of yourself that weren't in your job description, I finally understood how much of my life had been filled by you voluntarily. Her eyes softened. You remembered my mother. You argued with me when everyone else nodded. You knew when I was tired before I did. You made my office feel less like a command center and more like somewhere a person could live. Roman's voice lowered. And when you took that away, I didn't miss an efficient secretary. Vivienne barely breathed. I missed you. For once, she had no clever answer. Roman did not fill the silence. The song ended. They remained where they were for one beat too long. Then applause began around them. Vivienne stepped back. Roman released her. No grabbing, no claiming, no assumption. He simply looked at her. Vivienne smiled. Walk with me. They left the ballroom through a set of terrace doors. The night air was cool. City lights stretched below the hotel, blurred gold and white beyond the stone balustrade. Vivienne rested both hands on the railing. Roman stood beside her, not touching. She appreciated that. You know what frightened me most? She asked. The Vescari situation. No. Roman waited. That I wanted you before the gala. His head turned. Vivienne laughed without humor. Not dramatically. I wasn't secretly pining behind my desk. But there were moments. What moments you really want to list? Yes. Of course. She looked out at the city. The night of the Marino acquisition. You found me asleep at my desk and put your coat over me. Roman remembered. You told everyone I was cold. You were drooling on confidential documents. I was not. You were. She ignored him. When your mother was sick, you stayed at her house for 3 days and took calls from the kitchen because you didn't want her waking up alone. Roman's expression softened. When one of the junior assistants made a mistake that cost $40,000, you yelled for 10 minutes, then paid for the fix yourself because you realized your instructions had been unclear. I did not yell for 10 minutes. 9.5. Continue. Vivienne smiled faintly. I liked pieces of you. Roman's gaze remained on her, and that made the joke worse. She said, because I had built you into the one man I thought would never look at me that way. Roman's face tightened. I know. No. I think you know now. He accepted that. Vivienne turned toward him. I don't need you to spend the rest of your life apologizing. Roman went very still. That sounds ominous. It isn't. Continue carefully. She laughed. I need you not to make me responsible for proving you've changed. Roman nodded. Fair. I need my work to remain mine. Yes. I need to be able to say no. Yes. And I need you to understand, I am never going to become easy simply because you finally noticed me. Roman looked at her. Vivienne, you reorganized a $12 million vendor system because one spreadsheet irritated you. I have no expectation of easy. Her laugh broke through the last tension between them. Roman smiled. Then Vivienne stepped closer. His smile faded. She looked at his mouth, then his eyes. Ask me properly. Roman's breathing changed. Ask you what? You're very brave in negotiations for a man suddenly pretending to be stupid. He understood. Roman lifted one hand, then stopped before touching her. May I kiss you? Vivienne smiled. Yes. He touched her face first, carefully, as though the permission mattered even after it had been given. Then he kissed her. There was no audience reaction, no orchestra swell, no rival family watching, just the cold terrace air. Roman's hand warm against her cheek, and the quiet shock of finally crossing a distance they had spent months defining. Vivienne kissed him back. Roman's other hand settled at her waist. This time, when he held her body, there was no surprise in it, no discovery, no sense that she had transformed. Only recognition. When they separated, Vivienne remained close enough that her forehead nearly touched his. Roman said, Dinner. She blinked. What I asked you 4 times. You are kissing me and thinking about administrative closure. I dislike unresolved items. Vivienne laughed against his mouth. Yes. Roman stilled. Yes, I'll have dinner with you. When? Do not ruin this. Tomorrow, Roman. Friday, she kissed him again just to stop him talking. It worked for almost a minute. 3 months later, the Calderone headquarters had adjusted to Roman and Vivienne, dating with the enthusiasm of people who had predicted a natural disaster and were pleased to be proven correct. There were rules. Vivienne had written some of them herself. Roman did not enter operations meetings unless invited. Vivienne did not use their relationship to bypass security procedures. Arguments at work stayed about work. Personal disagreements were not conducted through assistants, calendar changes, or budget approvals. Matteo called the document their romantic constitution until Vivienne threatened to add a clause removing him from every meeting before 10. Roman still sent flowers occasionally. Now Vivienne kept them. He never sent jewelry to apologize. He learned that lesson permanently. Enzo remained in her social circle and took unreasonable pleasure in Roman's continued irritation. Sebastian Moretti attended 2 Calderone charity events and introduced Vivienne to new acquaintances as the woman who taught Roman Calderone self-awareness, which nearly got him removed from both. The Vescari conflict cooled. Dario retained his family name, but not the influence he had tried to build. Salvatore Greco disappeared from city business. Roman did not ask where. Vivienne did not need to know. More importantly, she loved her new job. Director Russo became a title people used without qualification. Within months, the operations division reduced vendor delays. consolidated 3 offices, and became important enough that Roman complained he now needed appointments to speak to his own girlfriend during business hours. Vivienne told him to submit a request. He did, mostly because he knew she would enjoy denying it. The final gala of the winter was held at the St. First Aurelia Ballroom, the same ballroom. Vivienne realized the symmetry only after the invitation arrived. She stood in Roman's kitchen holding the card. He was attempting to cook pasta. This was a mistake. St. Aurelia, she said. Roman looked over from a saucepan. What about it? The annual gala? Already? Yes. He stirred something that did not need stirring. Vivienne watched him. Do you need a +1? Roman stopped. Slowly, he turned. She was smiling. He pointed the spoon at her. Do not what? You know exactly what. Imagine their faces when you arrive with the director of operations. Roman put the spoon down. Vivienne laughed. He walked toward her. You have been saving that. For months. Cruel. Patient. Roman stopped in front of her. Then, deliberately, he straightened. Vivienne Russo. She raised an eyebrow. Would you come to the St. Aurelia Gala with me? Professionally, no. As your employee, no. As a strategic distraction, no. As a joke, Roman's expression softened. Never again. Vivienne held his gaze. The answer mattered even now. Then she smiled. Yes. At St. Aurelia. The chandeliers were exactly as Vivienne remembered them. The same quartet played near the staircase. The same families gathered beneath the same charitable banners while conducting the same quiet calculations. But almost everything else had changed. Vivienne wore red. Not because it was bolder than emerald. Not because she wanted anyone to turn. She simply liked the dress. Roman offered his arm at the entrance. Vivienne took it. They stepped into the ballroom. People looked. Some men turned. Some women did too. A photographer called Roman's name. A donor waved to Vivienne. Someone near the bar whispered something. Vivienne did not care. Neither did Roman. They had taken only 10 steps when an older businessman intercepted them. Calderone. Roman greeted him. The man smiled at Vivienne. Still hiding that secretary of yours, Roman's expression changed. But before he could answer, Vivienne smiled. Former secretary. The businessman blinked. Director of operations. Ah, congratulations. Thank you. He moved on. Roman looked at her. Vivienne looked back. What? You didn't let me defend you. I didn't need defending. Roman smiled slowly. No, you're learning. Painfully. The orchestra changed songs. Roman held out his hand. Vivienne looked at it. He said, Dance with me. She let him wait. A little tradition. Then she placed her hand in his. Roman led her onto the floor. Around them, people watched. Vivienne rested one hand on his shoulder. You should know, Mr. Calderone. Everyone is looking. Roman's eyes stayed on hers. Let them. Vivienne smiled. Months ago, those words would have meant defiance. Now, they meant something simpler. The room could look. It could judge. It could gossip. It could remember the joke. The emerald dress. The secretary no one expected. The mafia boss who had been foolish enough to think he knew the woman sitting outside his office. None of it decided who Vivienne Russo was. And none of it decided why Roman Calderone loved her. He had learned that too late to avoid hurting her, but not too late to become a man capable of deserving the answer when he finally asked properly. Vivienne moved closer as the music slowed. Roman smiled. What? Nothing. Your nothing is suspicious. I was thinking, dangerous. About the first gala. Vivienne's eyebrows rose, and Roman looked at her. I thought every man turning to look was the moment everything changed. It wasn't no. When did it change? Roman considered. Then he smiled. The moment you stopped laughing at my joke. Vivienne went quiet. Roman continued. I just wasn't smart enough to understand it yet. Her expression softened. You really were an idiot. Matteo documented it. I'm sure. Roman drew her through a turn. Vivienne laughed. And this time, when every head in the room seemed to follow her, Roman did not feel the need to claim her, hide her, or prove that she belonged beside him. He simply danced with the woman who had chosen to be there. That was enough. It was more than enough. It was the entire point.